According to some astronomers, so according to this one astronomer, Earth is struck by a meteorite large enough to cause an ice age on an average of once every 100 million years. Okay, so according to astronomer, Earth is struck by a meteorite that is large enough to potentially cause an ice age on average of once every 100. Okay, so once in 100 million years, we are struck by a meteor. Okay, got it. The last such incidents occurred nearly 100 million years ago. So we can expect that the Earth will be struck by such a meteorite in the near future. This clearly warrants funding to determine whether there is means to protect our planet from such meteorite strikes. All right, so our conclusion is this clearly warrants funding to determine whether there is a mean to protect our planet from such meteorite strikes. And it's a flaw question. What did you predict for the flaw? Why does our support not add up to this conclusion?
So my prediction was that because my prediction had to do with something about the data not being accurate. Like how many hundred millions of years of data do we have to compare that we have an average? So that was where my mind went.
But not to like call you up, but this we have to take this as a well, I get what you're saying according to one. So maybe
Yeah.
you don't know. I'll get that. I was gonna say we have to take this as a premise, but
Mm-hmm.
you're saying that this astronomer could be wrong.
Right. And then outside of that, I also was thinking, okay, well, once every 100 million years, that's still like a very wide span for something to happen. Like that doesn't that even like those odds aren't very strong anyway. Like one every 100 million years. So I feel like just because it just didn't seem highly probable to me. Like just because it could happen doesn't mean
So
that
you're close about it could happen because
Mhm.
there's two phases of things that I'm guessing an answer choice shows that could happen. One, every 1 out of 100 years, we get this meteorite.
Mhm.
But when we do get that meteorite, what has to be true of that meteorite?
What do you mean that it causes an ice age?
Yeah. Does it have to cause an ice age?
It references this ice age. Or it references from such meteor strikes, which makes me think it has to be a meteorite that's going to strike and cause an ice age once every 100 million years.
Well, just because we're struck by a meteorite that's large enough to do it doesn't mean that it actually causes it, right?
Okay.
That's another flaw that I saw.
Right.
All right, what did you say for this one?
So I was debating between a couple of them. I believe I ended up choosing.
Do you want to go through all of them?
Yeah, I think I was stuck between A and C. I don't remember what I chose, but I know I chose wrong. But I know I was stuck between those two.
Okay. With E, E assumes without providing justification. Okay, so assumes that at least one feasible means can be found to deter large. No, our issue is not that we're assuming that we have means to stop this. It's that we're saying that we should spend money on actually stopping it.
Mm-hmm.
D fails to specify the likelihood that if such a meteorite would strike to Earth, the meteorite would indeed cause an ice age. See, I actually like D.
See, now that you're saying it, I do like D, but when I first read it, I just found other. I was just focused on some of my other flaw predictions, and I felt that A and C were closer to them, so I looked at them more. But I do think D is also a good answer.
Does it matter the likelihood that a meteorite would indeed cause an ice age?
I don't think so because I think it's just saying we should.
Well, I
This
guess it doesn't matter if we know the likelihood that it will happen. If it only happens one every 100 years, do we even know the likelihood other than like it did happen? Like that kind of goes back to how much data do we actually have? Like if there's only been two, and one caused an ice age, well, that's a 50% chance.
Right,
I'm kind
right.
of talking myself out of D,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm open to it because I don't know the answer. Okay.
Right.
C moves from evidence about the average frequency of an event to a specific prediction about when the next such event will occur.
Yeah. So what threw me off, what I liked about it is I think it was saying, here's the evidence we have, which I think went with was what happened. And then I was thrown off with specific prediction because I didn't think that in the near future would constitute a specific prediction. I mean, I see how it could, but I didn't think that that necessarily lined up well.
I think the issue is it's saying the reasoning in the argument is most vulnerable. And
Mm-hmm.
so if we're looking at the reasoning, like I would go so far to say that this is a subsidiary conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that this argument does go from, hey, the last such incident occurred nearly 100 million years ago, or about once every 100 million years. So we can expect that it'll be struck by a meteorite in the near future. How do we know that? And it's really based on the, like, I would say that that actually is more based on the reasoning than the argument itself.
Okay.
I'm not, let me read the other ones though quick to see. Presumes without providing justification. So we assume that the probability of a chance events occurring is not affected by whether the event has occurred during a period in which it, no.
Right.
And A makes a bold prescription on the basis of evidence that establishes only a high probability for a disastrous event. Wait, makes a bold prescription on the basis of evidence that establishes only. I feel like that's actually not a flaw.
See, I thought I took it as this. I went back and checked. I chose A, and I liked it because I think bold prescription is a good equalizer to explain what the conclusion is doing. Like it's saying, because of this, this is what we should do. So I thought that aligned well.
Right. But I don't
Um,
like the second part. I don't like where it says only a high like it only establishes a high probability. Like I think
yeah,
a high probability is enough to do this. Like
right. And that's I think what I was
also,
struggling with.
do we also but also do we actually establish a high probability?
I took them saying that it occurs of like on an average of once every 100 million years to saying like based on evidence this is what we've concluded. So I took it as if that's what the premise is saying, then like that's what we're taking and that's what they consider probable. But I definitely like struggled with that. I went back and forth between A and C whether I was more upset by using highly probable to describe once every 100 million years compared to specific prediction with
I
it
think
will be.
for A, you have to ask yourself, is it a problem that I made a conclusion based on something highly probable? Like that's like if that were true, that actually isn't a
True.
problem.
Yeah, you're right. That's not a problem. Okay.
The issue more so is did we actually establish that it is highly probable, which is
Right.
probably what you
Right.
were getting caught on.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so okay, so if we're looking at the reasoning, our reasoning goes from evidence about the average frequency of an event. So our average frequency is once every 100 million years.
Mm-hmm.
And we transition to um, a specific prediction about when the next such event will occur, which is exactly what we do in our reasoning. And then we use that reasoning to come up with our conclusion. But the flaw is not necessarily in our conclusion. I mean, it is. The flaw is in our conclusion because our reasoning doesn't line up.
Okay.
Like, why is the reasoning in the argument most subject to criticism?
That makes sense. Because I think even if I didn't connect what the flaw in C was to what I predicted the flaw to be, I think if I had analyzed it just based on the anatomy of the question and the argument, it would have gotten me there. Or at least deterred me away from everything else. Because I think, see, you're completely right. It fully breaks down the argument, and they're asking about the reasoning. So that makes sense.
Very cool.